It's been a year of challenges for the Green Party, including a co-leadership hurdle and landmark work on climate change. But the party is polling well at 9%. And this month it will be 1 year since co-leader Marama Davidson launched Te Aorerekura, the national strategy to eliminate family violence and sexual violence. Marama Davidson, Minister for the Prevention of Family Violence and Sexual Violence, joins me now to discuss this and more. Thank you for joining us. Can you begin with a summary of what progress has been made since the launch last year of Te Aorerekura?
Tēnā koe Piripi pai te kite ia koutou. We're in year one of the 25-year elimination violence strategy, Te Aorerekura, and it has been really important to see that we are in the best place position that we have ever been to make the transformational change needed to end violence. So this is what I've been hearing from the community, from public government agencies and from prevention violence experts. Some of the actual actions, I suppose, in the first year of Te Aorerekura. Te Aorerekura was launched with an action plan of 40 actions. All of those are underway. So, kei te pai tērā, kei te haere te mahi. We also, and those actions have a focus on prevention and not just responses, which is very different from what we've done before. They have a focus on government accountability, the agencies being accountable to not causing more harm for victims and survivors of violence, for example. So that's one of the first things I wanted to point out, what's happened in a year. I also, Piripi, this year, I think it was in May, we released the workforce tools. Now, the country has never had a shared minimum understanding of the dynamics of violence, or how to respect people and believe people and validate people when they put their hand up for help. So the workforce tools are also about government agencies being accountable so that when people put their hand up for help, they will be respected, believed, supported to the right awhi and the right services as well. So that's the other thing I want to point out. And then thirdly, there have been more things than just those three things, but I also wanted to highlight my ministerial advisory group, my tangata whenua leadership group. We established them this year. They're called Te Pukotahitanga. They are grounded in Te Ao Māori expertise in preventing violence. They are part of the way to keep Te Aorerekura centred and focused on tiriti justice and acknowledging that Māori can lead the way for Māori, but for everyone when it comes to healing and prevention work. So just a few of the highlights there for you, Piripi.
Kia ora, there are a few there. What are the biggest barriers or the immediate challenges that we're still facing to eliminating family and sexual violence in Aotearoa?
The two main things in terms of the barriers that I wanted to talk about is we still need to properly put out the resources and the authority to communities to lead this work, but with the support of government agencies. So that's some of the biggest change that we have to make. And Te Aorerekura commits to that, but that's some of the stuff that is taking some time. The other big barrier is we've actually still got an attitude problem across all of Aotearoa, New Zealand. We still haven't properly acknowledged the drivers of violence. We haven't properly acknowledged the patriarchal attitudes, the gendered nature of violence towards women and children, for example. We know that the colonial interruption removed the mana of wahine as part of our treaty breaches that happened to Aotearoa, and that also diminished the tapu and mana of wahine and children and of tāne in particular. And so that's one of the big barriers is for how we heal ourselves and restore the mana and tapu of wahine and tamariki, but also of tāne to be good tāne, healthy tāne. And that's one of the big barriers that we're all working towards as well.
Can you give us some practical examples of what you mean by community engagement in the strategy?
I can. I'm from South Auckland. I want to mihi to Papakura Marae, who have been doing fantastic work in our communities to support families and whānau in their well-being, their broader well-being, whether that's healthcare, housing, and also working directly with survivors and victims and people who perpetrate violence to help stop the behaviour of violence in families as well. But they are having to deal with the clunkiness of government agency contracts and the way that we fund marae and Māori organisations to do the mahi is clunky and hoha, and many contracts that are low trust, that are not about relationships, that are not flexible enough. They just want to get on and do the mahi. They just want to help whānau. They don't want to have to spend too much of their time dealing with many government contracts. They don't want to have to keep their mahi inside a narrow box. They want to be able to do whatever it takes to support whānau and families to be well and healthy. But the way that government has worked forever has gotten in the way of them doing that mahi. Te Aorerekura seeks to change all of that. We're in the early days, but that's the vision and the aspiration that we have to work towards.
Ka pai. Look, it's been a somewhat challenging year for the Green Party with a few leadership issues there, and we're heading to an election year.
Just one leadership issue.
What are your priorities as a Green Party co-leader at this point, heading into an election year?
Look, everything for us comes back to, te oranga o papatuānuku. So for us as the Green Party, what that means is having a planet that our mokopuna can rely on, can live on, that is stable and healthy. It means that returning te mauri o te wai, having healthy waters and taiao and ecosystems and habitats for our indigenous species, and that is all connected to te oranga o te whānau o ngā mokopuna tamariki. So that's also about our priority being making sure that everyone has what they need to live with dignity and thrive. And those remain our priorities. They have always been core and kaupapa of healthy planet, healthy taiao, healthy whānau and communities, uplifting the mana motuhake of hapu and whānau, and strengthening iwi through that mana motuhake of hapu and whānau remains our ongoing priority. And so that is why you have seen, for example, the Green Party on the ground supporting the ahika movements, whether it's Ihu Mātau or the peninsula with rocket launching, who want to protect their rohe, whether it's protecting the moana against seabed mining. Those will remain a priority for us in election year. But also, I think, apart from our issues that we've always been clear about, it's actually our presence on the ground to inspire families and whānau to even want to engage in voting in the first place. That's a priority for us, as we have to excite our people to want to engage and to know that they can make change by having a say when they have more of our kaupapa Māori voices around the decision-making table. So that's the big priority for us.
Kia ora, kia ora. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it there for now. Green Party co-leader Marama Davidson, thank you very much for your time today and throughout the year. All the very best to you and your whānau over the Christmas and your New Year period. Ngā mihi nui kia koe. Tēnā koe.
Kia koe, hoa piripi kia koutou ngā kaimahi o te Ao Papāho, ngā kaimahi Māori. Really want to thank you all for having us and for having me. Kia ora tātou.
Ngā mihi nui.